think is a great one. And Chamath, you've been tweeting a lot lately, as we just talked about. I think that'll end up probably being our cold open. But Zuck announced, and Facebook Meta announced the launch of Threads. Gerstner, big shareholder of Meta, I think, right? Reasonably sized shareholder. Zuck this morning announced 30 million downloads of the app overnight. Threads is Instagram / Facebook / Meta's competitor to Twitter. Looks almost like a clone. I mean, it is so similar in features, in interaction, in everything. Brad, maybe you can kick us off and talk a little bit about the importance of Threads and how this is important to Meta, and then we can talk a little bit about the app itself.
Well, I mean, the first thing is, if rumors are true, they developed this over a period of 6 to 9 months with 20 people. Okay. And so the extraordinary pace that's now occurring with inside Meta, we've heard from several people inside that said people are pumped. They're actually updating real-time user counts. They're over 30 million users already on Instagram. And it just gets back to this culture of flattening the organization, speeding up the organization. I think everybody's excited. You know, the best engineers in the world want to see their products set free. And so, you know, I think Threads is really interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, if we flash back to what went on in China with Toutiao and Douyin, remember that text-based social networks were where kind of it started there. And so it's a bit anomalous. Douyin, which is the TikTok equivalent in China, was started based on Toutiao, which was a text-based newsfeed. And so it doesn't surprise me to see the social graph being leveraged into a text-based feed. I think initially they're seeding it obviously with all your friends, so it looks more like celebs and entertainment, and my team is like, it's easier to use, it's faster, it feels more free. I think, you know, Adam Asari, he posted on Threads that he stayed up all night last night. So excited with the product launch. He and Zuck are responding to people actually live on Threads. And so part of this just goes to the pulse of the company. Over the next 4 to 6 weeks, they're going to have massive launches out of the AI side of the business. I expect a lot more support for their open AI model or for their open LLM. I also think they're going to launch a bunch of agents on WhatsApp and Instagram. So what I see is just velocity and cycle time within the business improving. And then one final thing, in the age of AI, right, you want to collect as much data as you can from your users. And we know that Facebook is very heavy on video and pictures, but what they're light on is text. And so in a world where the most important thing on the internet to train your model is the word, right? Now they're going to collect a lot of words, a lot of conversations, a lot of sentiment among the users. And, you know, maybe we'll come back to this. You know, I just want to kick it back and get people's thoughts on the product. But already, by my estimate, if these guys get to 100 million, which looks like they may be able to get to tonight, based upon the monetization that Twitter has, that's already a business that's doing something like $2.5 billion in revenue if they chose to monetize it, 1.2 or 1.5 billion in EBIT. Apply their current multiple to that. That's about a $20 billion increase in enterprise value built by, if rumors are true, 20 people over a course of 6 months.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I remember in the early days of Friendster and MySpace, and then even Facebook, these social networks launched and everyone thought it was going to be a conversational system. And so much of the usage and the page views and the minutes spent ultimately accrued to photos and over time video. And now it's almost like this interesting reversion back to the origin, that it's back to this conversational system. But these systems always seem to kind of evolve to, hey, just images are what win and what kind of gather up all the mind space. I mean, Chamath, having worked at Facebook, maybe you can share a little bit about your point of view on Threads as a product and as an evolution away from social network on Facebook to Instagram and now to Threads.
I think what people don't understand is that the successful category winner in each of these categories needed to invent something de novo that nobody else had. In the case of Facebook, we invented photo tagging when it didn't exist, and then we invented the newsfeed when it didn't exist. And then there was a bunch of people that copied it, but it didn't matter because we had refined and owned that use case already. So I think the real challenge for Facebook isn't, can 20 people copy Twitter? I mean, you know, Mastodon is a copy of Twitter. There's a bunch of Parler is a copy of Twitter. Truth Social is a copy of Twitter. The challenge is going to be, can you invent some de novo feature that makes people actually want to use this? And, you know, rage quitting Twitter because you're not a fan of the product right now, or Elon, isn't a successful long-term use case, because all of those people will eventually come back. So I don't know, I'm a little bit more skeptical of the whole thing. I think that right now what you see is not even a full copy of the system. It's, you know, a 50, 60% copy with a lot less usage. And so as a result, a lot less traffic. But I think you need something new. You know, TikTok, the reason why it became successful was it was a fundamentally new use case relative to the alternatives. And I think that that captures people's imagination and mindshare. So this is not what Threads does. And so in as much as it's a copy of something that is already an established behavior, I don't think it has very high chances of success.
But don't stories and Reels undermine that argument? I mean, Reels was a copy of TikTok and Stories was a copy of Snapchat, and they're both giant products today.
I think that you can definitely copy features into an existing product with new distribution, but to invent a new product wholly from scratch, that's a carbon copy of something. But again, Reels attaches onto Instagram, which is a unique use case, right? And so I think that, again, it goes back to, you have these 5 or 6 established modes of social media that essentially are from large pieces of content to small pieces. That's probably the best organizing principle that we have. And then that's one axis. And the other axis is text, video, audio. And along that spectrum, you can basically compartmentalize all these things. And then there are about 4 of them that have real scale. And so in as much as you have established distribution, yes, you can copy a feature from somebody else and it will get used. But that's not what this is. So if this instead gets integrated into Instagram, I think it's much more dangerous to Twitter than as a standalone product. As a standalone product, I tend to think it's DOA for the most part. Unless, again, it invents something totally new that we're missing.
Sachs, you're an advisor to Twitter. What do you advise Elon, and you know, how do you think about this as a competitive threat?
Yeah, I'm not a formal advisor to Twitter. Right. I was just a guy hanging around during the transition. No, look, I mean, I tend to agree with Chamath. The thing that Facebook did really well here is there's a one-click sign up flow from Instagram where you just click to download Threads and then you can log in with your Instagram account and port over your bio and all of your data and your social graph. So it's super easy to get set up, but by the same token, you know, if they have 10 million or even 30 million signups, that's really just a 3% conversion rate on the billion, you know, users that Instagram has. So a lot of people are just going to make that click because they're curious. They want to find out what Threads is. I wouldn't be surprised if they got 100 million users or 200 million users that way. Just people, you know, clicking over from Instagram to see what this new thing is. The question is, what's going to be the habit forming behavior here? And the people who use Twitter are really addicted to using Twitter. It's where the conversation is. There is a strong network effect there, not just around the users and the social graph, but like the habit of daily usage. So, you know, how many of these people who are signing up are actually going to go use it every day? Are they going to take the time to copy over, to kind of copy paste all of their Twitter posts over to this new medium? And then what about all the comments and replies? So I wouldn't just look at the signups here. I think you have to look at like the amount of posting and the actual usage before you know that Twitter has a threat.
Sure.